Finally, we have done this. This is crazy. Thank you for hanging in there. Thank you for waiting for me. Wow. Talk about trials and tribulations. You know, there's going to be a lot of comedy in this show. And there's already been a lot of comedy happening because 2 times now, I thought this show had started. And I was talking, and then I found out that we were not broadcasting. So for me, the comedy has already began. Thank you so much for waiting. Thank you for being here, and I appreciate your time and your attention. This is the first episode of Mysterious Forces Live, and this is the only episode that will be like this. All of the other shows are going to have a guest, and there's going to be segments, and it's going to be a lot of fun, and we're going to have a good time. And I really hope that you stay with me and that you come along for that journey. And the production values of the show are going to go up. I'm going to be doing live streams from conventions and other events, and I'll tell you about those in a little bit. So there are going to be extra interviews added to the channel. They're not going to be live interviews. They're going to be pre-recorded interviews, some of which are already done. I've already interviewed Richard Dolan, Jimmy Church, Tracy Garbett Dolan, and a few other people. So you'll be able to find those on the channel, and I'll keep doing those pre-recorded interviews and putting them up on the channel. But they won't be as regular as this show. This show, Mysterious Forces Live, is going to happen every night, every Friday, every Saturday, and every Sunday night from 12 o'clock midnight until 12:30. This is a 30-minute show. And that's part of what I wanted you to know about the weekend shows, is that it's segments and the show is going to move very fast. I want to have a show that kind of moves along and has a quick pace and doesn't give people time to get bored. So there'll be trivia questions with each show. There's going to be a guest. I'm going to have a segment called 5 Questions in 5 Minutes. And I'm going to try to get my guests to crack up, or otherwise, I don't know, find themselves speechless or something. I want to put them on the spot. So I'm going to draw some comedy from guests, and that I'm going to throw some of that at them. There'll be short interview segments for those guests. And then we're going to have a lot of social media interaction. I really want people to be active in the chat room. I want them to ask questions, leave comments, and I really want this to be interactive. I think here in the 21st century, entertainment has kind of gone to a whole different level. And in some ways, it's a lot more personal now, because you can kind of reach out to people who are interested in a particular topic and kind of focus in on that. And social media allows that real-time interaction, which I think is really important. And I also think it's a lot of fun, because I like hearing from people. I want to hear what people think. I want to know what questions they're asking. I just want to touch base. I want to stay in contact. And I think in a way, bringing you, the audience, into this show and having you participate makes it more of something that we do together, instead of just you kind of watching me interview someone while you fall asleep or eat Doritos. So you can eat Doritos. I've got nothing against Doritos. And I've got nothing against sleep, for all that goes, because I'm going to need some after this show is over. But yeah, no, this is just supposed to be interactive and fun. So that's what this is all about. Tomorrow night, I'm going to have my first guest, and his name is William Pullen, and he is a UFO researcher and historian, and he's based in Texas. And I will have a lot more of his social media information tomorrow, but you can find him on Facebook. And he puts a lot of UFO polls up on his page. And he's also involved on the local level in his community with his local MUFON chapter and other get-togethers that involve ufology. And he's a super interesting guy. He's super nice, and he's done me a lot of favors by generating some UFO trivia questions that I'll be using on the show. And I'm going to toss a few of those out tonight and see if anybody bites or knows anything about the questions I'm going to ask. I do want to give a couple of shout outs to some people, people who have helped me along the way, people I have met. Some of these people are going to be on the show. Some of them I've already interviewed. First, I'd like to give a shout out to my partner, Sherry. This show would not be possible without her and her help and support. This has taken a lot. This has been a bigger endeavor than what I imagined it would be. I thought I would just throw up a camera and run my mouth and have fun, but the concept of the show has evolved over time. My initial idea for this show was something completely different and more of an interview show, something more akin to what Terry Gross does on NPR. And as I started to think about it and I started to look at all the other shows out there, I realized that there are a ton of interview shows out there. They're topical, and a lot of the same guests kind of rotate through those shows. And I'm not knocking that. I mean, the alternative research community and the ufology community in general, it's kind of small. If you are really into this and you follow it, you know who these people are. And I would imagine that people who really follow the subject have researchers that they favor over others, and maybe some that they don't like at all. And everyone's entitled to their opinion. I have my opinion. There are some researchers that I think are full of BS, and I don't believe what they say at all. And then there are some people who have my rapt attention, and I hang on their every word. And one of those people would be Richard Dolan. I interviewed him in June at Contact in the Desert, and he was really gracious. And if you heard one of the promos that I put out, I really fell apart when I sat down with Richard Dolan. And it was funny because that was my first interview, and he was someone that I really wanted to interview. Like he was the person at the top of my list. And instead of working my way up to Richard Dolan, I started out with Richard Dolan. And as soon as I sat down at the table with him and I looked him in the eye, I realized how much Richard Dolan knows about ufology. And I also simultaneously realized how little I know. I listened to a lot of the stories. I listened to the research. I listened to the shows. But I don't have the kind of brain that just has that encyclopedic knowledge, that encyclopedic retention. Or I'll coin a phrase, a Dolan-esque encyclopedic knowledge of ufology. So put that out there. You heard that here first. A Dolan-esque encyclopedic knowledge of ufology. I do not have that. That's why I have someone like William Poland writing trivia questions for me. Not that I don't know some of the details. I do. But there are people who are better at that than me. And that's part of the evolution of this show, in that I realized that an interview show would be just like a lot of other shows out there, and I wanted to create something different. And that's why the interactivity is so important to this show, because we get real-time feedback. We can interact with each other. There's going to be a fresh show every time with new trivia questions. I can have guests come back on, not too close together, but someone can come on the show 2 times and you're not going to hear the same show twice. You're going to hear different trivia questions. There's going to be different things going on. So it's going to stay fresh. And I would also like to thank Tracy Garbett Dolan. Richard and Tracy have both not maybe officially mentored me, but unofficially mentored me a little bit. They gave me some tips and advice, and I took that advice, and it was very helpful. And I am very grateful to Richard and Tracy for their help and advice. They're very cool. And if you ever get a chance to meet them, they are just really down to earth, good people. So I encourage you to meet Richard Dolan if you get a chance at a convention. I encourage you to buy his books. I'm kind of a Dolan follower in terms of that's the kind of research that I admire in ufology. But this is not all about ufology. I'm going to get into cryptozoology, some Bigfoot stuff, and other creature sightings. I'm also into future tech. I'm also into technology in general. And I'm kind of a pacifist, but I have a strange fascination with military technology. And I also have a lot of respect for the men and women that serve our country in the armed forces. I feel like most of the people in the military come from the middle class. And those are people who are really looking to improve themselves and better themselves. And they put their lives on the line to serve our country and to help better themselves at the same time. And for someone that would go out and put it all on the line like that, I have nothing but respect. So at some point, I'm hoping to have some military folks on as guests, maybe some pilots. I'm just north of Phoenix. Luke Air Force Base is nearby. And I'm hoping maybe I can get a couple of pilots to come on and do this. It would be kind of fun. So that's another element of this show. Other people I would like to give a shout out to would be Jiggy from Paranormal Hood. He is so cool. I met him at Contact in the Desert. I interviewed him. He's another person that I have a pre-recorded interview of that you'll find on the channel here soon. I'm also going to have my website up, which will be nyxmedia.com. And on nyxmedia.com, there'll be more blogs. I think we're going to have some uncensored chats. YouTube doesn't really like salty language, and I get it. In some ways, I wish the language on this show could be more akin to what you might hear on something like Joe Rogan, but I'm also willing to play by the rules and not push the boundaries on that. So this show, in terms of curse words, will be pretty clean, but we may touch on some subjects like medical marijuana, use of psychedelics for consciousness expansion and self-exploration. I don't think it's wrong to talk about those subjects. I think they're legitimate subjects. And I think they have a lot to do with alternative research. I think that if you have experimented with psychedelics, you might have a different perspective on reality, on the possibilities of reality, and maybe really profound insights about yourself. So I don't discount that as useful. Like anything else, everything needs to be used in moderation. And I would also say that I think the use of psychedelics in that way for self-exploration should probably be done more in a ceremonial fashion, or maybe not religiously, but with some intention towards self-awareness, self-growth, some kind of connection to something higher than yourself, and find a way to kind of, I don't know, just step outside of yourself and take a look at life and hopefully, you know, grow from that, like I said. So this is not a drug show. It's not going to be all about that, but I'm also putting it out there that that topic might flow through the show every once in a while. And the reason that's on my mind is because those topics definitely came up with Jiggy during our interview. And if you have not seen Paranormal Hood, I highly recommend it. Jiggy and his crew are out of Boston, and they go out on locations. They do investigations. Jiggy has shows from his studio, and it's very entertaining, and I think you should check it out. Jiggy's a lot of fun. I'd also like to say hello to Jordan and Ethan from Infinite Empire. They're a new band that's up and coming, and they're starting next month. They're going to be based out of Phoenix. They're in Colorado right now, but I know that they have plans to move to the Phoenix area, and they're going to start doing some recording and gigging, and I might be working with them. So as time goes on, we'll probably introduce some music from them, and I have a pre-recorded interview with Jordan. And so that's another interview that you're going to hear coming onto the channel. Let's see what else. I want to talk a little bit about the trivia questions that we're going to be covering on the weekends. And let's see here. On Fridays, the trivia questions are going to be about metaphysics. It could be anything within the realm of metaphysics. It could be psychic stuff. It could be cryptid. It could be UFO. A lot of things fall under the umbrella of metaphysics, at least for that context. And so that's what we'll be doing. We'll be doing questions on Friday nights about UFOs, cryptids, psychic stuff, paranormal in general. That's what Friday nights will be oriented on. On Saturday night, I think it's going to be a lot of fun. I'm going to have a segment called Magic Mushrooms, a High Colonic, or Both. And what that is I'm going to select a person who is a public figure, and I will announce on social media who that person is before the show on Saturday. And I want people to vote with some answers on whether that particular person needs magic mushrooms, a high colonic, or if they need both. And if you want to, for instance, I guess I would say Alex Jones. Does Alex Jones need magic mushrooms, a high colonic, or does he need both? I would be leaning towards both. He probably needs more than magic mushrooms, a high colonic, but that's where we're going to limit the questions for Saturday night. So every week we're going to have fun with whoever I pick, and we'll discuss them. And I'm going to look for creative answers. If you are a person that has a good imagination and you are able to express that through writing or communication through social media, I'll be talking about your answers live on the show. And that should be a lot of fun. As a matter of fact, I'm going to throw this out there. Tomorrow, we'll get Alex. Let's use Alex Jones. So for tomorrow's show, Saturday, August 25th, be thinking about it. Be thinking about your answers. I want to hear from you. Do you think Alex Jones needs magic mushrooms, a high colonic, or does he need both? And I'll read your answers on the air. So send your answers in before the show so that I can write them down and communicate those to everyone else. Sunday nights, the trivia questions are going to be deep geek trivia questions. And that means that these are trivia questions that geeks would know the answer to. It could be about comic books. It could be about movies. It could be about technology. It could be future tech. Anything that falls under the umbrella of what geeks are into, I'm going to ask trivia questions about that. And Sunday night's questions are going to be harder. I'm going to start out with some softball, trivia questions, but as time goes on, I may be throwing out some really tough ones, because when I first conceived of having trivia questions on this show, you know, I immediately realized that trivia is not what it used to be. People don't so much rely on their general fund of knowledge these days as they do the internet. And that's like, if you ask someone a question, they're just going to look it up and they're going to Google it, and then they're going to kind of take that shortcut, which I accept that, because people are accustomed to using the internet for information. And I'm sorry, I just got an update. I have 13 minutes left. 13, lucky 13. Anyway, so these deep geek trivia questions, they're going to be a little bit tougher. The reason I'm going to make them tough is that it's not so easy for you to just get in a search engine and look something up and then just pop off with an answer. The reward for answering these trivia questions correctly, or in the case of Saturday night for magic mushrooms, a high colonic, or both, I will select maybe the best answer on Saturday nights, the most creative answer. And I also realize that on Fridays and Sundays, more than one person could give a correct answer, but I may not be able to track who exactly the first person is with the correct answer. I'm going to try. We'll try that out. We'll see how that works. But if you are selected as the winner of the trivia question on Friday or Saturday, or the more creative questions on Saturday, you get to ask that night's guest 1, 2, or 3 questions, depending on how things go. If you're super long-winded and you're kind of crazy, you're probably going to get 1 question. But if you can be concise and ask some really good questions and things move along, then you can ask 3 questions. Later on, I want to have some contests, and I actually want to send gift packages out to winners of these contests. I'll announce when that's going to happen. It'll be things like stickers and other things. I don't know. I'm just I'm looking at all kinds of things. It's weird when it comes to merchandise, because in one way, I think it's cool to have merchandise and it's cool to make money. But, that's not the motivation. Like, people like to win things, and I get that. And I like to win things. I have entered a lot of contests and I've won things in the past. So I just think it's a cool memento. So there will be t-shirts. There will be probably coffee mugs. I'm just looking at this stuff. I've been thinking about a coffee mug that is one color when you have a cold liquid in it, and then the mug changes colors when you put something hot in it. They exist, but in terms of getting a gross number of those coffee mugs, I need to check out how I can get that accomplished. But that's something I'm thinking about, and definitely some cool t-shirts. There's going to be t-shirts. There's going to be stickers. And I'm hoping maybe to get into some prints or artwork of other artists and give those away. I'm a big Alex Gray fan, and I've made some contact with the Alex Gray people. They wanted to know more about our show before they would really grant me an interview. But I'm really into Alex Gray and his art. And he has a project up in New York State called COSM, C-O-S-M, which is the Chapel of Sacred Mirrors. And it's a physical building that is a physical representation of some of the things that he paints. And if you are not familiar with Alex Gray and his work, check it out. And then imagine a physical building that is manifesting these visions. It's incredible. You can look it up online. One of the things I want to do, hopefully, this is one of my bucket list things, I want to go there, and I want to do it like 3 nights of interviews with Alex Gray. But we'll get the show rolling, and we'll let the show kind of find its legs, and we'll work up to stuff like that. Speaking of going to other places, I am going to go somewhere. I'm going to be at Disclosure Con up in Pine Top, Arizona at the beginning of October. I believe it's October 5th and 6th, or 4th and 5th and 6th. Look it up online, Disclosure Con. I'm going to have a table there, and I'll be meeting people, and I'm going to be interviewing people who are speaking at Disclosure Con, and I'm going to do some roving reporting, and that's going to be a lot of fun. I'm going to do some live streaming with a GoPro, and we'll go in and out through the crowd, and we'll go around and we'll see what's happening. And I have a few tricks up my sleeve for Disclosure Con. So we will explore that. So please stay tuned for Disclosure Con. And if you live anywhere in the area, if you live within, driving distance or whatever of Disclosure Con, it's probably about an hour and a half north of Phoenix. So if you can fly in, or if you can drive in, or whatever, come to Disclosure Con. I'll be there. Travis Walton is going to be there. There are going to be some very good speakers. If you want to see the full list of who's going to be at Disclosure Con, just Google it, check it out, and there are some informative pages on there listing who all is going to be there. And I look forward to it. It's going to be my first convention as, I guess, a podcaster. So it kind of puts me more on the side. Like, I'm not doing a lecture. I'm not a person that does lectures. I'm not doing all that. But in terms of just being a personality that shows up at these events, this is going to be my first rodeo. So we'll see how this goes. It's going to be a lot of fun. I do want to talk about something that I'm really excited about, and I'm going to keep you posted as progress is made on this. I made contact on Facebook with a guy named Scott Fensterer. It's Scott C. Fensterer. And Scott Fensterer appeared on season 9 of Face Off, and he got very far along in the competition. He was one of the last 4 or 5 or 3 people left, and he did really well. And Scott, in my opinion, got robbed because I think his skill level was above some of his competitors. And but there's no accounting for, what the judges do or whatever. Scott is going to appear on the show sometime soon, and I look forward to having him on. But also, he is creating an alien puppet for me. And the puppet may appear on this show sometimes, even though this is not a puppet show, unless you consider me a puppet of the deep state, which I'm not. But I'm going to take the puppet with the GoPro to these conventions. And if you were entertained by, say, Insult the Comic Dog from Conan O'Brien, you might be entertained by some of the things I have in mind for this alien puppet. Something that I want to do that I think will be a lot of fun is I'm going to give progress notes and hopefully show some photos of the puppet as it's being made. And I'm going to consult with them a little bit on the design, but I'm really letting Scott use his imagination and his creativity in making this. However, I want you, the viewers, to vote on a name for this puppet. And I know that it's going to be hard to come up with a name without seeing something. So we'll wait till the puppet is done. I will present it on the show, and then we will have a contest, and someone will come up with the best name for this character, and that will be the name of the character, and then we'll run with it. I will keep you posted. I'm probably about, I don't know, 2, 3, 4 weeks into like I think the turnaround time is more akin to 6 weeks. So there's still some more time to go. I do know they're working on it. Scott has started the sculpture, and they've ordered the eyes. That's the last thing I heard. But I'll give you progress notes on the alien puppet, and I'll showcase it, and I'm going to let one of you name it. And I think that will be a lot of fun. And I don't know. I have less than I'm getting down to the end of the show. I can't believe this. I talked for a half hour. I did it. Tomorrow night, William Poland, UFO researcher, historian. He's a cool guy. He's extremely knowledgeable. Please tune in tomorrow. Same time, same bat channel. William will be on Sunday night. We're going to have a guest, and then we're going to do it all again next weekend. And this coming week, look for some pre-recorded interviews that are going to pop up on the channel. Thank you so much for your time and attention. I appreciate you being here. Please stick with the show. We will start on time, and we will have a lot of fun. Thank you so much, and please be safe out there, and I'll see you all tomorrow night.